are wrestling.
We Are Wrestling podcast.
They give a shout out to We Are Wrestling on YouTube.
You're watching We Are Wrestling.
I'm the host with the most.
You are by far the least intelligent.
What's going on, everybody? Danny Huckins here, man. 1/3 of We Are Wrestling.
What's going on? We are Wrestling Maniacs Worldwide. Ben here, the third of the talk show.
We Are Wrestling podcast.
Make sure to subscribe, baby.
We Are Wrestling.
What is up? We are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide. I'm the host with the most, Mr. We Are Wrestling himself, the best One Donnie here, all alone to start off the podcast. Unfortunately, Ben is not available this week, catching up with the fam, and Danny will be on the podcast later on. He has, some things going on that he needs to, take care of. But we're riding it solo, and I think that this is the first time ever that this is happening. Feels very weird, but if you're listening to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, not just a 5-star review, but a best one review, and download the episode. But if you're watching this and you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you're not a part of the thousands of subscribers, we recommend you to hit that subscribe button now, turn on the post notifications. Videos be coming out of nowhere like an RKO, and of course you already know, the grind is real. So before we dive into the first set of topics, which unfortunately will be just myself, because Daddy and Ben are not here. Daddy's not here yet. I do want to address a couple things. I feel like the podcast is the perfect place to do this, and since it's only myself, I might as well give you guys some inside scoop on, the future of, the We Are Wrestling brand. And, first and foremost, we advertised that we have new t-shirts during, the Wrestling Classic 3, and the t-shirts we are still working on, the shop website, so we'll be having more additional news coming out with the shirts. The goal is to have, the site launch before the end of the month. And we also have this really cool, t-shirt skit that we recorded with, one of my old actors over on, Best One Network, Donald's the Best One. And we have such a really cool, t-shirt skit that is already finished. We're waiting to upload it, but we want to wait until we have the t-shirt website ready. So definitely be on the lookout for that. So the shirts will be on sale very soon. Definitely this month. And the second thing I want to address before we dive into my highlight of the week and, the topics for this week's episode of We Are Wrestling 72. Normally on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, I do reactions to the regular, television shows. Monday Night Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, Collision. And I usually do this on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, and unfortunately, I will not be doing any more wrestling reactions moving forward. I'm going to be honest with you guys, for the past month, I haven't really been enjoying doing it. It's taking a lot of time out of my hands, and there's other things I want to pursue, there's other things I want to do, and I feel like my reactions aren't really helping We Are Wrestling as a whole grow, and I want to continue growing on the podcasting network side of things. I want to continue uploading wrestling vlogs. I want to, do predictions. I want to have more variety wrestling content here on the channel that's not just reactions. I feel like it's just feels like a chore. I feel like I'm forcing it, and I'm not really happy doing it. I rather, continue podcasting and, start bringing on, some new series to the We Are Wrestling channel. And, hot takes, I haven't really been able to do that show because of how much time, Raw reactions are taking me, Dynamite's taking me, SmackDown's taking me, Collision is taking me. So I made the decision that I'm no longer going to be doing, reactions for the regular television show. If something crazy does happen, I'm sure I will record my reaction on my phone, probably sitting on my couch or laying in my bed, because I just miss watching the shows as a fan. But if you guys want me to do a review podcast on the regular television shows, that is something I'm very open to doing. But it all depends on the feedback we get. So I do apologize to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs that enjoy the reactions. Unfortunately, I haven't been enjoying them myself. And I always pick, quality over quantity. And I feel like my reactions do take away from Danny, and it also takes away from Ben. Because at the end of the day, the We Are Wrestling brand, it's, not just me. It's all of us. And I want to, continue growing this as, a podcasting network. I want to continue, doing different things on here. And, watching the shows, because guys, I don't watch the highlights, I don't skip through the shows. I'm sitting here watching 3 hours of Raw. Despite, I do skip commercials, I will admit that. I'd be sitting there watching 2 hours of Dynamite. I sit there and watch, 2 hours of SmackDown, and I sit through 2 hours of Collision. And on top of that, I am also editing my reactions, I'm making the thumbnails, I'm uploading it, and it's taking a lot of time off my hands. So, unfortunately, guys, for now on, I won't be doing any more wrestling reactions. But if, crazy things happen, I will pop up the phone, like I said before. So, those are the two things I really wanted to address, was the future of, the wrestling reactions and the t-shirts that will be coming out soon. But now, let's dive into my highlight of the week. And my highlight of the week has to be AEW All In, because, man, this was one of the biggest shows in AEW's history, in front of 80,000 people, which is absolutely insane. I had a great time watching it with, the Lone Ranger Ben and Danny, my two co-hosts that are unfortunately not here with me right now, riding solo right now. Hopefully Danny gets on here pretty soon. But yeah, my highlight has got to be AEW All In. What a historic moment in professional wrestling. Love that, wrestling as a whole right now is winning. So there's nothing that's better than that. But one thing I do got to say as well that I really have to acknowledge is Tony Khan giving, his talent this Wednesday for Dynamite and next week for Dynamite off, in honor of Bray Wyatt, because of course, his services are happening, and Tony Khan is, letting his talent, make the decision whether or not they, want to be on Dynamite or they want to, go out and pay their respects to their good old friend Wyndham. So I really do have to acknowledge that. But now, let's dive into the topics for this week's episode of We Are Wrestling 72. Collecting has always had a special place in my heart, going all the way back to when I was a kid. I remember my parents taking me to Toys R Us and waking up on Christmas morning to a bunch of new action figures. I had bins filled with thousands of rare WWE, WCW, ECW, and TNA figures through the years until, unfortunately, I ended up selling my whole childhood without knowing the true value of my collection. 2 years after I made that horrible decision, the pandemic hit, and I realized there was a part of me that felt missing, and that was collecting. My whole life, I've loved collecting wrestling figures, wrestling memorabilia, classic video games, Nickelodeon stuff, sneakers, Funko Pops, and even Angry Birds. As time went by, I decided I wanted to get back into collecting, except this time, document it and rebuild my collection over on Best One Donnie. So if you want to go back into time and relive my nostalgic memories, subscribe now. The first topic that we have for this week's episode of the podcast: last Sunday, NWA 75 took place and EC3 defeated Tyrus to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, the 10 pounds of gold. After this match, it was reported that Tyrus is retiring from wrestling. And how do I feel about this? Well, for one, I'm very happy that Tyrus is not holding the 10 pounds of gold anymore, because that man is mid when it comes to the ring, and his title run has been very lackluster and just, I don't know, one of Billy Corgan's worst decisions in his, NWA. I will say this: I'm very excited to see what EC3 does with the 10 pounds of gold. I think that, EC3 is a great talent, and him having the 10 pounds of gold, I think, will be great for him. He has lost a lot of momentum, since the whole control your narrative thing hasn't panned out the way that, he wanted it to be. So I'm kind of glad to see him, get the spotlight, and I'm very excited to see where this goes moving forward. And man, Tyrus, retiring might be the best option for him. I know right now he is very successful doing what he does on Fox, and it's just unfortunate. I really enjoyed his run in WWE as Brodus Clay, but after that, the whole Tyrus thing, even in Impact Wrestling, never really enjoyed it. And NWA, man, they tried building this man like Roman Reigns. And I think it made NWA look more of a joke in the process of that, which is unfortunate, because at the end of the day, I'm rooting for all of these wrestling promotions to put out a great product. I'm rooting for all these wrestling promotions to, succeed, because at the end of the day, they are, opening up jobs for more professional wrestlers. They're giving them more opportunities. They're putting food on, their tables. They're putting a roof over these superstars' heads. So at the end of the day, I want to see all wrestling win. And I really hope that, EC3 does pick up some momentum, and hopefully NWA, now that Tyrus is gone, is a little bit more watchable. But moving on now to the next topic, according to Mike Johnson at PW Insider, Impact Wrestling is set to make some big changes. They plan on making massive upgrades to its production facility. Adjustments will be made to the taping schedule. Less talent will be utilized after Bound for Glory. Anthem will reportedly be paying day rate talent for extra days throughout the remainder of the year. UK event Forbidden Door show with AAA. Hard to Kill will be taking place in a venue in Las Vegas right next to the Strip. How do I feel about the new changes Impact is making? Honestly, I am so happy that Impact Wrestling's rebuild right now is going better than a lot of people expected it to be. And I'm definitely going to subscribe to Impact Plus. I think I am really going to give it a shot, and maybe even, make an Impact podcast for the We Are Wrestling, channel. Something I'm definitely interested in doing. I love old TNA, and honestly, I've been hearing nothing but positive things about Impact Wrestling since, Scott D'Amore, took over. I think he's done a fantastic job. I think that they have a great roster. The pay-per-views have been amazing. And honestly, I'm going to have to give it a shot, because now that they're going to be upgrading their, production facility, and they're really going to, make some changes now, I'm very excited to see what happens. I still don't like that, it's on Access TV, because nobody really has access to Impact. But I just need to suck it up and, spend $1 a month to, watch new episodes of Impact on YouTube. Or just subscribe to Impact Plus, because I'm sure I will get more value out of that than Honor Club, where you don't even get the pay-per-views on there, which is absolutely bullshit. But man, I'm happy to hear that Impact Wrestling is striving right now. This is, another situation where I want them to succeed, because it gives us more content to cover and it gives more guys and girls jobs in this business. And man, so happy that they were able to, bounce back, because for a while it really wasn't looking good for Impact Wrestling. And they've done a fantastic job, building new stars. They've done a great job with, a lot of former WWE guys that they've signed. And honestly, I am very invested in the future of Impact. Scott D'Amore, my hat goes off to you, because man, you've done an amazing job. But man, I just got, a message from Danny. He is ready to go. So, up next on the We Are Wrestling podcast, we do have some WWE and AEW news. And later on in We Are Wrestling 72, we're going to be diving into the CM Punk All In incident. We'll be right back with more We Are Wrestling 72.
Hey, what's up, players? WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, and you are listening to the We Are Wrestling podcast. And if you don't listen to it, then it's one-on-one with The Undertaker.
Are you looking for wrestling content? Well, We Are Wrestling provides everything pro wrestling. The best One Donnie, Danny Huckins, and the Lone Ranger Ben are wrestling marks like you who love this sport. We Are Wrestling has it all when it comes to wrestling content. We have different podcasts, vlogs, reactions, full wrestling matches, live pay-per-view watch-alongs, interviews, predictions, and so much more. Only on We Are Wrestling. What are you waiting for? Subscribe and become a We Are Wrestling Maniac now. We're back, and Danny is finally here on the We Are Wrestling Podcast 72. Say what's up to the We Are Wrestling Maniacs.
What's going on, everybody? Running a little bit late, but you know what? It's okay to be casually late. If you guys hear some noise in the background, I do apologize. It's hot as shit, and I have my window open, and I live on a busy street, so periodically you'll hear motorcycles and stuff zooming up and down the street at, midnight. So that is where we are at, man, and we're getting into this podcast, and we're gonna make it as entertaining as we possibly can, because we are built different.
Feed me more. But that's the thing as well. We want to let the We Are Wrestling Maniac listeners and watchers know that you and I will both be live tonight for WWE Payback. We have a live watch along over on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel. And tomorrow, if you're an AEW fan, Danny and myself, we will be doing a live watch along for AEW All Out. Lots of amazing content here on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel and, on our podcasting, networks. But now let's dive into more topics for this week's episode of the We Are Wrestling Podcast. So, according to Fightful, the Authors of Pain may have been secretly re-signed by WWE for months, maybe even as far back as last year. How do you feel about WWE bringing them back?
I think it would be a good move as long as they can have some creative plans in place for them. I've heard that report too. Apparently, they've been signed for a year, give or take. I don't know why I don't know what they're waiting for. I don't know why they haven't brought them to TV in any kind of, fashion or whatever, and why it wasn't even necessarily mentioned that Authors of Pain have signed to WWE. Currently, I think it's just a rumor. I don't think has it been 100% set in stone, confirmed by somebody that they are definitely signed, or is it just a rumor going around the rumor mill?
Pretty much it's going around in the rumor mill, but this isn't the first time this report has come out about the Authors of Pain. And we know last year around this same time, Triple H did sign back a lot of people that he, worked with during his run with Black and Gold NXT. And the Authors of Pain, they were, former NXT tag team champions. And I believe Raw tag team champions as well.
My thing is will they add quality to the shows? That's what I really want to know. And I also heard a rumor sign about them possibly not even going to the main roster. They're going to NXT, which sucks for me because I don't watch NXT.
I heard it's getting really good again.
Yeah,
but I understand there's so much pro wrestling to watch, so it's very hard to make the time for
it's not
some
that,
of these
man.
promotions.
It's not that. It's just I watched NXT back when Aleister Black was on there, Ricochet was on there, Velveteen Dream was on there, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Candice LeRae, like all these guys, and it's just like, the thing that made NXT so great back in the day was it was very edgy and dark, and it was like these guys legitimately had vendettas, like they were trying to climb, to grab that brass ring, so to speak, the brass ring that everybody likes to talk about. I just feel like the show, it's just like Raw, it's just like SmackDown, is too polished. And I just don't feel like it necessarily has any kind of life to it. And that's not saying the talent's not good, because they are. It just, the stories, man, the stories just do not grab me like they used to.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's, I feel like NXT is never going to get to that black and gold status ever again, because around the time they just had the perfect roster, they had the perfect, theme for the show. Like, it was more edgier, and they just had the talent, and the takeovers, was something special. It was something new. And usually when something new happens in pro wrestling, a lot of fans, capitalize on it, and they seem to enjoy it a lot more. Just like right now, you, myself, me, and a lot of other people, we're enjoying AEW Collision more than any other wrestling show out there every week, because it's new. Just like when Dynamite first came out, we were enjoying that more. Same with, WWE when Triple H, first started creative. It was the same, situation, because it's all about the momentum. And if the momentum's not there, you're not going to get invested.
Yeah. That's pretty much how I feel. But as far as the Authors of Pain, like I was a fan of them when they were in WWE. They really made a name for themselves, I feel like, around the pandemic era, and even maybe a little bit before that. They were sort of like Seth Rollins, like bodyguards and stuff like that. I mean, I would like to see them come back, but like I feel like they could, or they would help the tag division, possibly. But I am terrified that WWE, the creative staff in WWE, are not going to treat them right. And they're just, they have a habit of bringing people back. Half the people Triple H brought back, they're either not on TV now, or they're fucking jobbing out to somebody that they shouldn't be jobbing out to. You know what I'm saying?
There's only a very low few that have strived under Triple H's, regime. And I am very nervous about what to expect with the Authors of Pain. I did hear that Paul Elgrin will be coming back with them if they do go to the NXT brand, which I feel like would be pretty cool, because it worked. And I remember, when they first debuted on the main roster, they, didn't have Paul Elgrin with them. Instead, they had Drake Maverick, and it just didn't feel the same.
No. Isn't Paul Ellering, like, isn't his daughter on NXT, or was on NXT for a period of time?
She was a former NXT superstar, and she was a part of Impact Wrestling a couple years ago, and right now she's not currently signed to any promotion, from what I know.
I mean, maybe they could bring in her for whatever reason. I'm down for it. I don't know what they would do creatively, because I mean, they could sort of have they could feud with Bronson Reed. They can probably have a storyline with Rollins or whatever about, maybe them sort of getting back at Rollins for Rollins bossing them around, when Rollins was like the face of WWE, a couple years ago. I don't know. I mean, I'm sick of WWE signing guys and then just letting them sit in fucking catering and not doing anything with. You know, I
Well,
mean,
apparently, man, they've been sitting in catering for almost a year now.
that's my point exactly. Like,
Oh,
you
man.
know, why sign people? Why sign talent and pay them to just sit at home and do nothing? Like, what's the sense on that? Because you don't want them to go to AEW? That's retarded, and that's not a good business model to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I do want to give my thoughts on this. I do think that if the rumors are true, because of course, anything in pro wrestling, we do have to take with a pinch of salt before it actually happens. I feel
Yep.
like the Authors of Pain are back. This is not the first time we've heard these reports. And I hope that they do have plans for them creatively because they are a legitimate tag team. And that is one thing that I feel like I do criticize a lot on this podcast is the lack of legitimate tag teams. And I think that these two were fantastic together. I think that, they're different in this tag division. And honestly, I would not mind, seeing them go back to NXT because what they had over there worked fantastically until they have an idea with them. Like, for example, I wouldn't mind seeing the Authors of Pain with Karrion Kross. I feel like that would be a pretty cool pairing. And they could feud with, the OC or, Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. There's, opportunities there, but I would have them start off in NXT until they're confident enough that they have an idea. That's the whole point of NXT. You need to put talent that aren't being utilized over there and developmental talent. Let them,
you could
get
always
exposed to TV time.
You could always have the Authors of Pain being fronted by somebody like Braun Breaker, and then when the time is right, you could bring all three of them up to the main roster.
And that would be fantastic. Having, the Authors of Pain as his insurance policy, that would be a great booking decision there. And, there is a lot of guys in NXT that could utilize, because I'm noticing when I watch NXT, the highlights, that they do have some heels. And, eventually, like Carmelo Hayes, he's going to get called up to the main roster, and they're going to have a heel take that NXT World Championship. And, back in the day, a lot of heels, they had insurance policies, like Triple H back in Ruthless Aggression. He had the Evolution. He had Batista. He had Randy Orton. He had Ric Flair as
And
his
before
insurance
that,
policy.
he had DX and New Age Outlaws, and
The Rock had the Corporation. So that's what I'm trying to say here. I think the Authors of Pain could be a perfect insurance policy. We even saw it with JBL in the Ruthless Aggression era with, the Basham brothers.
Yep.
Literally, that's probably the best thing I could see for the Authors of Pain, and it could
Shane
work.
McMahon with the Mean Street Posse,
I love the Main Street Posse, man. They're one of my favorites. But honestly, I really hope they do have plans for these guys because, in my opinion, they should have never been released from the start.
They should have never been released. But I would not bring these guys back unless you have like some kind of creative in place. There's nothing worse than they're probably making good money sitting at home, but a lot of people don't get in this business just, as a get rich quick scheme because it takes years to get to that point. You know what I mean?
There are some wrestlers throughout the years that have used WWE as a platform to try to, get more followers and stuff. Cough, cough, Eva Marie.
Definitely. Like, I'm not saying there hasn't been, but a lot of people don't get into this business, to get.
Oh
rich
no,
and
absolutely.
get famous,
You're not wrong about that. No, I do agree with you on that.
If they are in fact signed to WWE, I want them to have creative in place. I want them to be involved in compelling stories. I don't want them to be on TV for 2 weeks and then get taken off for a month and then put back on TV for a week and then taken off for 6 months. Like, I can't do this whole back and forth. Apparently, Johnny Gargano, he's been ready, set to go since fucking April, and we have yet to see him. I don't know what the fuck's happening with him. It's been almost a year.
That pisses me off.
WWE, like, you can't fault me for having these kind of feelings when it comes to WWE creative, because I mean, they prove time and time again that, if it doesn't fit their narrative, they're not going to push it.
I think the toxicity right now for you is very fair. I think everybody that's listening to this can agree.
Mhm.
But moving on now to the next topic for We Are Wrestling 72, Mercedes Mone, formerly known as Sasha Banks in WWE, was spotted in the crowd during AEW All In. According to the Wrestling Observer, once Mercedes is cleared, she's expected to sign with AEW full time. And there's also reports coming out that if she wasn't injured, she was going to be on this AEW All In card. How do you feel about this move for the AEW women's division?
I heard a lot of reports about Mercedes Moné possibly being involved in All In or whatever, because I heard she was going to be in Forbidden Door too. So these two events I definitely heard that she was going to be somewhat involved with. I heard about Forbidden Door before All In was even announced. TK, he's a wrestling fan, bro. He knows how much Mercedes
He's a
Moné
wrestling
means.
mark.
I mean, so are we, bro. I mean, it's
we
fucking midnight, bro. We just
except
watched
we don't have
2 hours.
except we don't have billions of dollars like him to run a whole promotion. But continue.
Yeah, but bro, it's we just got done watching SmackDown and it's midnight and we're still here talking about pro wrestling after watching 2 hours of pro wrestling. We're fucking marks, man. We're marks to the fullest degree.
I'm a wrestling mark. I think I'm the first one to admit it. You're on the We Are Wrestling podcast.
Yeah, man. So he knows how much Mercedes Moné, what an impact and what a valuable asset she is. Do I think she's going to sign full time? Probably not. I do, out of everybody in AEW, even more so than MJF. Maybe not as much as Punk, because Punk, even though he caused a lot of bullshit, the dude he's still a draw for the company. But I feel like they would use Mercedes Moné as a special attraction. You know what I mean? So maybe she could sign part-time deals with AEW, but sign a full-time deal with somewhere else or whatever, like New Japan, like Stardom, New Japan, whatever. So she'd be able to work full-time for them, but work, part-time for AEW. That way, she can be involved with maybe Grand Slam or, All In, All Out, Forbidden Door, a lot of their bigger shows. Mercedes Moné, bro, she's don't tell Ben I said this, but she is a fucking draw, bro. I mean, for months and months and months and months and months and months, bro.
Finally, something that we agree on.
I've always said this. I've always stuck up for Sasha Banks. Even after her and Trinity left WWE and they threw the fucking tag titles down, I was like, do you fucking blame them, bro? They were the tag champions and they wanted them to fucking just lose clean in singles matches. Just doesn't make any fucking sense. They're fucking tag team champions. They should be doing work to elevate the women's tag team division. Instead, no, they didn't want them to do that. So I mean, you can't really blame them.
I'll say this: I really don't understand why there's certain people that aren't fans of Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks. I think that in women's wrestling right now, she is one of the very best. She knows how to tell a story in her matches, and especially going back into WWE, especially big time matches, you have to give credit where it's due. Her versus Bianca Belair was one of the best women WrestleMania matches of all time. Bayley versus Sasha Banks at NXT TakeOver, back to back, were fantastic matches. I think out of the 4 horsewomen, nobody was better than Sasha Banks, in my opinion.
Bro, Sasha Banks could out wrestle any woman in the WWE currently. You know what I mean?
Absolutely agree with you on that.
I don't see anybody in WWE being on her level.
And that's where I want to get into my thoughts about Mercedes Moné. If AEW signs her to a full-time deal and they get her locked in with their women's division, we're going to see a lot of great changes in this division that has been lacking. You and I both know they do have a fantastic AEW women's roster, but it's just the bad booking decisions that are being made. Like, they have the talent, and especially their homegrown talent, Chris Statlander. She's fantastic. Willow Nightingale, she's, starting to get some, momentum. Sky Blue. There's a lot of fantastic women wrestlers on their roster, but it's just lack of creative. And I think they are lacking that one big star. And I think Mercedes Moné, she's a draw, and she's very talented in the ring. She backs it up, and her character work is, supreme. And I think that this is what the AEW women's division need. I think a Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker feud, that is money right on the table. And a lot of these, AEW women, I think that they can coexist with Mercedes Moné, because if you go back to her WWE run and watch, her matches and her storylines and her rivalries, she can adapt to any style wrestling match. And I think that, man, the AEW women's division, they need star power, and what better way than to bring, the hottest free agent right now, Mercedes Moné, to AEW. I would love that.
Here's my issue with this. And
I do feel like she would be better off being a special attraction than a full-time star.
I do too, because even when she was in WWE,
Will Ospreay is the perfect example.
Yes, but like even when she was Sasha Banks in WWE, seeing her every week, it took a lot of her star power away. It wasn't until I feel like she went and did the Star Wars TV show or whatever, to where she was gone for a couple of months and she'd come back or whatever and do like sort of part-time basis. But I feel like the more you see somebody, regardless who they are, the more you see somebody, you start to really understand their flaws. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that Mercedes is perfect. I don't even think she thinks she's perfect. There's always things you need to work on or whatever. But those flaws will definitely be highlighted if we see her like almost every week. And it's also been a little bit proven with things that have happened between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker and like all the drama backstage or whatever. A lot of the newer AEW talent have proven that they don't necessarily like to listen to quote unquote legends and people that have been in the business for a long time.
Can I pause you right there?
Mm-hmm.
Besides the Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa drama, believe it or not, the AEW women's division, a lot of them are great friends outside of AEW, and a lot of them have each other's backs, and they seem a lot closer than a lot of, the regular AEW stars.
Yeah, but I mean, we've had issues between Ruby Soho and Tay Mello. We've had issues between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. We've had issues like this.
Yeah, but like in WWE, we also get those issues, but the problem is that the WWE reports don't come out because there's more structure over there than AEW. Let's just call it like it is. I
like AEW. I'm a huge fan of it. I like what they're doing. They're rejuvenizing the pro wrestling world, I guess you can say, because it was getting a little stale with the only major company being WWE. But now that we have an alternative, it excites me because you never know what's going to happen next. And it gives more jobs to people. I just don't want situations like that. Like, everybody was excited about Punk coming in. And it seems like besides his return at in Chicago on Rampage, seems like besides then, it seems like every other week there's a fucking issue between Punk and there's drama going on. We're going to be
diving into that during the main event topic of the podcast.
I don't want something like that to happen with Mercedes, because women, they get easily offended. Somebody backstage could think, Mercedes is stepping on her toes. She's outshining us. I mean, look at this. The independent wrestler or whatever. She did a job on Dynamite or Ring of Honor or something, and she made a whole rant or whatever. Then it went fucking viral around all the dirt sheets about the fucking entire AEW women's division. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. A lot of the AEW women that are in the locker room, they all came together, and those reports from that jobber were false.
Yeah.
Everybody had each other's backs during that, and even people that have seen, differences between each other were even, on the same page, as everybody else in the locker room for the women.
I don't know. Like, I do want her to go to AEW, but I want her to be saved for special moments. I don't want her to be overused, because then the specialness of being able to see Mercedes, it's gonna go right out the window. And I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward.
But one thing I do want to say, I do think that they did a fantastic job with her being spotted in the crowd, showing her throughout the entire show because it made her feel important. And that's something that I feel like AEW, it's like the little things that they don't do could make such a huge difference. And that was one of the pros for AEW All In my opinion, because normally they don't do that. And I know a lot of people are very surprised that Triple H hasn't been, putting people in the crowd like he used to do, because I think that's another reason why NXT Black and Gold was so successful, because we got to see Karrion Kross in the crowd, EC3 in the crowd, Keith Lee in the crowd, and we would always get somebody in the crowd and it would make them feel bigger than life. It would make them feel important. And I think that having somebody in the crowd, that's a great spot.
We just had somebody in the crowd either Monday or last Friday. Who the fuck was it? Who's the blonde chick? And
Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, Tiffany Stratton. She was in the crowd at one of the recent shows, and she was like there
on Raw this week.
She was there like scouting the competition, they said on commentary. So I mean, they are starting to do that a little bit.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to wait and see what happens there. But speaking of AEW, this past Wednesday on Dynamite, the Acclaimed revealed it's the House of Ass era, and they revealed new trio championships. What's your thoughts on AEW allowing stars to customize titles? For example, MJF right now has the triple Bs. Miro had the white TNT championship, and Scorpio Sky, had the gold TNT championship. And we're starting to see a pattern here where they're allowing their stars to, have some creativity when it comes to the championship.
Yeah.
Signs.
I feel like we're on the wrong website for this, man, because there's a whole lot of ass, there's a whole lot of scissoring, and I feel I feel like I got to take my pants off and dance in certain situations. I will say the new title designs fit the characters that the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass are portraying on TV. But the major question is, was it necessary? And is that a slap in the face of the House of Black, having them lose the titles just to have sort of like a comedy joke made out of the titles with the whole, the pink strap, the fucking like the end of the belts being cut into like scissors and like, so there's a lot of negativity around that. You know what I mean?
I think that's your opinion on that, because I do feel like a lot of people, as much as, myself, just like you, wanted to see the House of Black retain the trio championships. The crowd is very behind the Acclaim still. Maybe not like they were last year at Grand Slam, but they're still very over. Like, we're still seeing scissors, all over the crowd. The foam fingers, every Dynamite and Collision show, they're selling out like this. It's wild.
I feel like, trying to figure out how I want to word this, I feel like AEW is doing to Billy Gunn what WWE's doing to Rey Mysterio. They know that their careers are sort of winding down. They want to give them one last hoorah with a championship. That's what I feel like this is.
And I also see why like AEW decided not to have Billy turn on the Acclaimed when, we wanted it to happen, because it just works. And
I
don't fix something that's not broken.
I don't feel like Billy's kids. They're in part of Bullet Club Gold now. For the most
They don't
part,
need Billy.
They don't.
Dude, they are just getting better and better every week. The presentation, the promos, the in-ring work, the entrance, especially the entrance, is fantastic.
They made it on their own, man. And,
And a little assist from Danhausen, starting the whole ass boy chant.
I wonder when he's gonna come back to AEW. He's been injured for what, like 7 months, 8 months?
Well, I'll tell you right now, if CM Punk is still in AEW, he'll definitely be on Collision because he is a CM Punk guy.
I will tell you this. I am really looking forward to some of the backstage segments. I feel like Danhausen and CM Punk's relationship, I feel like they could build that to where it's very similar to what Adam Cole and MJF are doing right now.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And that's not even a hot take. I agree with you on that.
That would 100%. Be fucking hilarious. Could you imagine a segment where Danhausen talks CM Punk into going fucking bowling or something like that? Like
going action figure shopping.
Bro, just the things you could do, man. Like, oh my fucking.
If you go to his YouTube channel, he convinced CM Punk to buy him this rare comic that was like graded 9.
CM Punk was on this channel?
Yeah. I recommend you to go check that out. But getting back into the Acclaimed.
You gotta send me that video. I want to check it out.
So getting back into the Acclaimed here, my thoughts about, the customizing titles. It's cool that we get to see, the personality side of a wrestler. I've always enjoyed the custom titles. When John Cena, had the spinner title, of course, when I was a kid, he was my childhood hero, and I loved the spinner title. Very unique. Edge, with the rated R, spinner, that was always cool. Stone Cold with, the Smoking Skull title. $1 Million Man with, his $1 million title. I've always enjoyed that because it really brings out the personality in a wrestler. And I think with the Acclaimed, honestly, I kind of dig it. I really do like the whole, scissors with, the title design on the strap. I actually really like what they've done. And I'm very interested to see what the Acclaimed do moving forward. But I want to know what the hell's going on with the House of Black, because I really hope that, we get more single matches with them. I hope that they're consistently still on TV. And honestly, I would not mind seeing, one of the three guys win the real World Championship or, the International Championship or the TNT Championship. I want to see something happen with the House of Black.
I will say, man,
real titles.
I will say the House of Black, for the most part, they're on Collision, which is on tonight. Obviously, we're not going to be watching it because Payback's
I am so mad about that because they just announced, as we're recording this, Dennis Rodman is showing up to Collision. I am
part of the Wolf Pack.
Dude, I am so fucking mad. I can't watch that live. I'm so mad.
DVR it, man. DVR and watch it right after.
Dude, I already got that shit DVR'd. I'm ready for that, man. Because that's just two worlds colliding for me, man. Basketball and wrestling.
Absolutely. And
I'm excited.
Dennis Rodman, back in I was actually gonna talk to you about it too. Dennis Rodman, he's very synonymous with obviously the Chicago Bulls. They're gonna be in the Now Arena in Chicago. I'm thinking that, because Dennis Rodman's going to be on Collision, I'm thinking that he's going to do something at All Out. Cause it only makes sense. You know what I mean? And obviously I think they have 1,000 tickets left before it's a complete sellout, and they're going to want to sell out All Out because there's assholes like us that are like, oh, the card sucks. But, they're going to be like, the card sucks, but we fucking sold out the building, so fuck you.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, Dennis Rodman, very synonymous with the Chicago Bulls, but he also made a name for himself in WCW along with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, part of NWO and the Wolfpack, back in the day or
Hollywood
whatever.
Hogan,
So
baby.
it's gonna be very nostalgic, man. All these years later, seeing him on TNT and TBS again, man, it's gonna be a trip because I mean, I was a small child when I saw that shit. I think that was like what 99, 2000, like around that era.
Nope. That was 96, 97.
96, 97. So I was like 6.5, 7 years old when that shit was happening.
And that's when he was in his prime in basketball as well. The man was skipping practices with Michael Jordan to show up to WCW tapings. Absolutely wild. Before we dive into our main event topic and the comment of the week, we'll be right back with more We Are Wrestling Podcast 72.
Hello, this is Eric Redbeard, and you're listening to We Are Wrestling Podcast with these two guys. What's your name?
That's One Donnie.
And you?
Danny Huckins.
Best One Donnie Danny Huckins, Eric Redbeard. We Are Wrestling Podcast. Check it out.
We're back, and before we dive into our main event topic for We Are Wrestling 72, every week on the We Are Wrestling Podcast, we do this thing called Comment of the Week. And recently, last week on the podcast, we did have a poll on the We Are Wrestling, YouTube channel, and you guys want only one comment, so out of 100 of comments, I can only pick one. Hashtag blame Danny.
Hey man, like I feel like if you only pick one, on special occasions, maybe two, I feel like that makes it a little bit more special for the people that you do pick. You know what I mean? Because if you go like 5, 6, 7 or whatever, it takes a lot of the value away from it.
So, this week we have one comment of the week, and it is from @Joseph Pederly 9446. I'm sure I botched his name, but it is what it is. He commented,
It'll be written on the screen.
I was also at Bray Wyatt's last match ever at a house show in Rockford, Illinois versus LA Knight in a Mountain Dew pitch black match, just like at the Royal Rumble. And I believe this was during our tribute live stream that we did on the channel in honor of Bray Wyatt.
Man, like, it still does not feel real that he's not here anymore. I keep thinking especially like having like John Cena in the middle of the ring or whatever. I just keep thinking that maybe we're gonna hear the fucking music, man, and and that's just me being like a fan, and that's like, it's like I said, it's weird how people you don't even fucking know, bro. I've never met this guy a day in my life, but I have an emotional connection with him. Like, him being 36 years old and leaving the fucking legacy and the impact that he had. And, like, it is awesome. Yeah, I just watched the day we're recording the podcast. Matt Hardy's new episode came out of his podcast. And it was in like an entire Bray Wyatt tribute episode. And he went down the rabbit hole, whatever, because he teamed with Bray for over a year. And so he told like a bunch of stories or whatever. And about Bray and Matt's son would go down to their arcade or whatever and just play video games and like just hang out. And, he was
that's so cool.
He was a real good guy. And like, that's everybody that says that. I have yet to hear, and it's been over a week, I have yet to hear one negative thing about this guy. And that just shows like the kind of person that he fucking was, man. And life is just way too fucking unfair, bro. Like, there's so many other people that could have died besides him. I don't understand why, the good have to die so young. Like 36, bro. He's only a couple years older than me.
And that's the thing, man. Like, he really did have the whole world in his hands. And honestly, seeing all the beautiful comments that were made by, the We Are Wrestling Maniacs, this week, sending their love, sending their condolences, to Wyndham Rotunda and,
I feel
his
bad
family
for his kids,
during
man.
his time, man. It's been, beautiful to see like how the whole, wrestling community has all come together, during tragic times. Like I feel like this always happens because we might be the most fucked up fans, but at the end of the day, we all do come together when we need to. And man, Wyndham Rotunda, man, Bray Wyatt, he had the whole world in his hands. And honestly, Joseph, that is really cool that you got the opportunity to go see him, in his final actual match at a live
I know.
event.
I have never gone, like, because for a couple of years, like, I was at a pro wrestling, and I never went. I didn't go to really a lot of the events. I went to one in 2019. It was a Monday Night Raw event. Yeah, he wasn't there. I think he was on SmackDown back then because it was when he was doing the Fiend gimmick. Um, but I never got to see Bray live, man. I fucking regret it because I mean, just like if I got this feeling now, like me actually like ever having that opportunity to like not even just meet him, but like just like be there and just like feel like what it's like to watch his entrance and watch him work in the ring. And I have a feeling that was like a monumental moment and a moment that a lot of people cherish. It just seems like a very special thing.
Absolutely. So, congratulations to, Joseph on the comment of the week. If you want to get your comment featured on a future episode of the We Are Wrestling podcast, all you have to do is go to the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel and comment on any video, and we will acknowledge you. But with that being said, let's dive into the main event topic.
Main
We
event.
Are Wrestling 72. And there is a lot to unpack with this main event topic because, of course, at AEW All In, we had an incident take place with CM Punk and Jungle Bitch, Jack Perry. And to the We Are Wrestling, maniacs that are listening or watching this, there is a new episode of Hot Takes where I give you guys my hot takes on things going on in the professional wrestling world. And I actually covered my thoughts on the whole CM Punk and Jack Perry thing. But now that there's more news coming out, I really want to have, this discussion with you, and let's just dive into it, man. And we're going to start off with CM Punk's arrival in London. So, according to a report by Nick Hausman, when CM Punk arrived in London, nobody representing AEW was present at the airport to help escort him to his hotel. After hours of no communication on AEW's side, Punk decided to take a train to his hotel, but got lost in the process and had to rely on fans to help him get there. How do you feel about the lack of communication with, AEW and CM Punk's, travel to London?
I feel now I've never been involved in this. Like, I don't know what the travel for AEW is like. I know in WWE, unless it's like for like special occasions where they all go on like one like WWE like plane or whatever, like whenever they do like Saudi shows or whatever it is. For the most part, WWE does not do any of the travel for the talent. They all book their hotels, they book their travel reservations, they do their rental car, everything by themselves. I know it's different in AEW, but I feel like, and I did see a lot of this is true, because obviously, like if you go to CM Punk's Instagram account and you go to the tag feed, you can see a bunch of photos of just him. Like there's a photo of him on a train. There's a photo of him in a hotel. There's a photo of him like at a Starbucks with, just like fans. So I do believe, majority of this report.
I do as well. I feel like this is something that somebody wouldn't bullshit.
I don't necessarily put a lot of fault. Now, should somebody from AEW have contacted him? Yes. But I feel like CM Punk, even though he's a megastar or whatever and he works for AEW, like he should have had all this set up beforehand, had all his his flight stuff situated days before, his rental car set up days before. You know, he should have like known exactly like my hotel is right here. Like he should have had all that stuff.
Yeah,
down.
but here's the issue though with these reports. CM Punk was relying on, somebody from AEW's behalf to help him get there because all the other talent that arrived to London were able to get escorted from the airport to their hotel. But CM Punk, apparently, the person that was supposed to be there to escort him, wasn't there. So CM Punk was waiting for hours, completely clueless. And I believe the phone also went straight to voicemail, according to
whoever was at fault for that should definitely lose their job, because I mean that's
absolutely agree.
He's
one of the biggest stars in AEW, man.
He is the biggest star in AEW. Even more so than MJF. MJF is huge, but
MJF is becoming a bigger star than CM Punk.
He's not.
But right now, CM Punk is still a bigger star.
Yeah,
I will say that.
CM Punk just has that legendary status to go along with it. And like even people that don't watch WWE or don't watch pro wrestling, they know who CM Punk is.
Yeah.
People that don't watch wrestling, they might see clips, but they don't know who MJF is. You know
he's starting to get noticed more. He is. But no, like as of right now, you're absolutely right from like just the whole, world global scale. Of course, CM Punk is more known than MJF because the man, was in WWE for years. He did have one of the longest, WWE championship title runs.
Plus, he cut that famous promo talked about how he wanted Vince to die.
Absolutely. But now, I got to give my thoughts on this whole, traveling thing. Man, this is embarrassing to AEW, in my opinion, because how do you not have this situated with CM Punk, getting escorted to his hotel? This isn't a backstage problem with this. This is AEW management now. Yeah. And apparently from, a Twitter account that I'm seeing, there is, a guy that does, pick up people from the airport and, bring them to Dynamite and Collision. And apparently he's friends with the Young Bucks and stuff. I guess he has a picture of like him with, Nick and Matt Jackson. And apparently he liked the tweet pretty much like dissing CM Punk in some way with like the whole traveling thing. So a lot of people are speculating that he had something to do with this whole miscommunication.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely unprofessional. And that's why I'm saying this is fucking embarrassing. CM Punk should have been escorted to the hotel. He's your biggest star.
He should. I mean, if that's, and
I don't blame him for being pissed off. Because imagine you are going to a whole nother country, Danny, and you are relying on this one person to get you to places, and he's not there. And then you're trying to contact, management, and your text messages aren't delivering. And then you have to, find your way to the hotel in a place that you're not very familiar with. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get pissed off. And who knows? Fans are crazy. And luckily, he bumped into some, pretty cool fans that were able to help him get to his hotel.
I will say this. Okay.
AEW should be lucky that CM Punk did not leave back to the airport because a lot of other talent would have done that.
You're right. 100%. I will say this. There is nothing anybody can fucking tell me. Somebody like CM Punk that spent years and years and years and years and years and years in WWE, there is nothing that anybody can say to convince me that CM Punk does not know his way around London, knowing the amount of times he's fucking been in that area.
Yeah, but you have to realize he stepped away from pro wrestling, man, for quite some years.
I understand that, but like when he was in WWE, he had to do all his travel by himself. They don't do that. They don't book people's flights. They don't book people's hotel rooms.
Yeah, but at the time, CM Punk was traveling with other superstars. He traveled on his own to London, not thinking about, what if somebody from AEW doesn't show up? Because it was, one of those incidents. Because sometimes, that happens in life where you don't expect something to happen, and it happens, and you have no idea what to do. And I feel like that's what happened with CM Punk in this situation.
I will say, if that's the way the tribal was set up, and somebody was supposed to be there to pick him up and escort him to his hotel room, and they weren't there, and he had no way of contacting that person automatically fucking terminated. No ifs, ands, buts, nothing.
There's
Because,
no excuses.
God forbid, something were to happen, and CM Punk, like, yes, he's a pro wrestler, this and that or whatever. But who's to say that, a group of people that maybe, take their hatred a little bit too far, they didn't do anything to try to physically harm him. AEW Tony Khan, more specifically, would 100% be at fault for this. So
they would get a lot of backlash for it, too.
Whoever this asshole is that was supposed to be there but didn't have the communication set up right away, 100% terminated. No ifs, ands, buts about it. No, you're done. You're done. I will say that.
Because here's the thing that pisses me off is it seems like there's a lot of lack of communication when it comes to the talent in AEW management. Because at Double or Nothing, remember, I think it was like last year or the year before, Samoa Joe, he had, some voice acting work that he had to do, but AEW informed him, oh, we advertised you for Double or Nothing Fan Fest. We need you here. But Samoa Joe already had, other things scheduled, and it became, a conflict of interest.
Was that
the one that MJF no-showed?
Yeah, that was around that time. I remember hearing something about
2022.
I remember hearing something about that.
So this isn't the first time that there's lack of communication, and that's why WWE has so many people hired so that they don't get into issues like this.
This is why people say that AEW is, what is it? Everybody's friends wrestling or something like that.
All friends, all elite friends wrestling.
All friends wrestling.
All friends wrestling.
You got to remember, like, the Young Bucks, Kenny, the Elite, like, yeah, they came to Tony with the idea, but they're the ones that like, Tony had the money, they had the mind. They're the ones that started this company.
Yeah, so but TK has taken over more.
Yeah, but everybody that pretty much has a job back there, it has some kind of friend relationship with the Young Bucks. You can't
True.
Not. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, could this have been, maybe it was a joke, and
I don't think the Young Bucks are trying to ruffle CM Punk's feathers, especially on the most important show in this company's history.
I
think the Young Bucks, the last thing on their mind was CM Punk.
Well, what I would like if this went down exactly, how we think it did.
An explanation.
I would like an explanation, and I would like to hear that the Young Bucks took care of this and fired the guy. You know what I mean? Yep. Especially if this guy is supposedly like a friend of theirs. Like, you don't do that. And, business, before pleasure, this is why it's not good to have a friend relationship and a business relationship in a lot of cases, because you get taken advantage of in certain situations. I feel like that's what this is. I feel like, this guy, if he is a friend of the Young Bucks, he probably thought, oh, this asshole likes to always ruffle feathers and talk shit. I'm just going to not show up, ha ha ha, and, let him get to his hotel by himself.
And then use the excuse, I got lost. Or something
that could be a very real possibility.
Probably what exactly happened.
I would like to hear, and obviously the Young Bucks, they don't have anything to do with this that we know of, but with them being EVPs, and this is why I always say, I've said it since I started watching the fucking company, bro. How many times on this podcast have I said, in-ring talent should not have any kind of position backstage. They should not have any kind of status, EVPs, whatever it is. It just cannot work. I would like, even though the Young Bucks had probably nothing to do with this, I would like for them to take initiative and fire this fucking guy. Because if he's gonna do this to somebody like CM Punk, who's to say he's not gonna do it to somebody else? And then, God forbid, something horrible happens, and guess who's gonna be at fault for it?
AEW, man.
Pro wrestling
And
fans are the sleaziest fans on the planet, bro.
That is why I say that this whole thing is embarrassing on AEW's behalf, because it does not make the company look good whatsoever. But moving on now to the next incident that happened, which, is the whole Jack Perry and CM Punk incident. So we have all the details here at AEW All In during the 0 hour. Jack Perry, who is facing Hook for the FTW title, made a real glass reference referring to his backstage incident with CM Punk earlier this summer on Collision. Apparently, according to some reports, after the match was over, and this I believe was on CM Punk's side, Jack Perry approached CM Punk backstage and stepped in his face and bumped Punk. Punk pushed Perry. Perry allegedly came at Punk and got choked. During the day, Perry had told a few people that he was planning to make the comment during the match with Hook. Jack Perry was ordered to leave the stadium. According to reports, both CM Punk and Jack Perry are both suspended while AEW is investigating what's going on. Plus, there is video footage of what happened that obviously the public eye hasn't seen yet.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the situation?
I will say this.
From CM Punk's, party.
I will say this. And a lot of people I've heard, online say, why did CM Punk get involved in this in the first place? Obviously being, in the business as long as you have, Dean Malenko and I think somebody else asked him to have a conversation with Jack Perry just because he's been around a little bit, and maybe Jack Perry would have listened to him. And I guess Jack Perry had some kind of already pre-approved vacation time or whatever, and he wanted to make the spot look a little bit more realistic than just using candy glass or whatever, some kind of fake glass. So he wanted to use real glass, and that could have, that could have worked into getting him off TV, having him go on vacation or whatever, and then coming back from a kayfabe injury. CM Punk didn't like that because there's a lot of reliabilities. Obviously, there's a lot of bleeding and a lot of blood and stuff like that in AEW. But there's a difference between, slitting your forehead, which has been done for centuries when it comes to pro wrestling, and getting slammed on glass, to where glass is a very unforgiving surface. You get slammed the wrong way. I mean, you can slice an artery, you can get all cut up, there's a very particular way that you need to get slammed on glass in order to not suffer any kind of, really traumatic experience health-wise. So obviously CM Punk was like, yeah, if you want to do that stuff, go to Wednesdays. We don't do that kind of stuff here on Collision. And people think maybe that CM Punk overstepped or whatever. Tony Khan may pretty much put together Collision for Punk.
Yep.
Ace Steel and CM Punk, they're huge, they're highly involved with, the creative direction that Collision is going. You can definitely tell in certain cases, because the way the creative is booked on Collision is night and day compared to what Tony does on Dynamite. So
it feels like an actual television show.
It feels like an actual television show, and it feels like it makes legitimate sense week to week. It's not just matches getting thrown together. But Perry didn't like that, and apparently Jack Perry is really good friends with the Young Bucks, obviously. And
Perry doesn't like any advice from friggin' veterans in this business. He likes to do things his way or the highway. And that's one thing that I was talking about on Hot Takes.
People are apparently assuming that he didn't want to listen to CM Punk because he's friends with the Elite, and he didn't want to feel like he was, taking CM Punk's side or whatever. Something that has to do with, because obviously CM Punk and the Young Bucks and the Elite or whatever have issues. and Jack Perry is friends with the Elite. And he didn't want to feel like he was betrayed in their friendship. As you know, a little thing I read on one of the articles, and apparently, a couple hours before the match at All In, I didn't see the match live. I was taking a shower or whatever, getting ready, waiting for you. But we both watched it before I think the show started at your house. You showed me the video on Twitter. And apparently a report has come out that Jack Perry stated like an hour before the show to somebody.
Yep, I do have Jack Perry's side of things that we're gonna get into after CM Punk's party.
But like, let's get into that. I pretty much like did a whole rundown of like.
Well,
CM Punk
let me give my quick thoughts though about the whole CM Punk side of things, because obviously I dived into the whole situation with Jack Perry and CM Punk and how I felt. But usually on the We Are Wrestling podcast, we like to break everything down, and obviously we do have our opinion. But we like to really analyze, what is going on in the reports rather than, pretty much shoot a pipe bomb. And that's what I like to do on Hot Takes. I just love to, do my little best one Donnie pipe bombs on there. But now, getting into this, I could see like what, CM Punk's side is saying. I do see what's happening here. And when I saw that video, I was completely shocked because I'm sorry to say this, CM Punk, and I still believe what I said on Hot Takes earlier this week, CM Punk is not at fault for whatever he did to Jack Perry, because at the end of the day, Jack was trying to pick a fight and he went into business for himself. And he is working with Hook. He's been feuding with Hook all the way back to June. He doesn't have any program with CM Punk. CM Punk is on Collision. Jack Perry is on Dynamite. So why the fuck is he going into business for himself, making a stupid remark, oh, this is real grass, go cry me a river, and then talking about how, oh, I was just trying to get some heat.
Yep.
Bullshit. He knew what exactly he was doing.
I feel like people, because obviously like CM Punk, like, he, when he first came, when on Collision's debut episode or whatever, he mentioned, counterfeit bucks, and he mentioned the Young Bucks, and, he talked about at the end of one of the shows, he did that little, I don't know if it was a shoot or a work, that fucking, the peg warmer, thing about Hangman Page or whatever.
Yeah, I heard he got fined. I heard he got fined 5 figures for that.
CM Punk has a habit of speaking when he shouldn't be speaking. And I feel like a lot of people are like, well, if this asshole can go on national television or whatever it is and say whatever the fuck he wants, well, maybe it's time, that, somebody starts, not getting pushed over by him. Because I feel like when CM Punk came into AEW, I feel like there's a lot of people, especially a lot of the newer talent that haven't been around somebody like Punk. And, Punk is just years after he left WWE, arenas all around the world would chant his name, for WWE to bring him back. I feel like a lot of people in AEW, they never were around a superstar like CM Punk. So I feel like the intimidation factor was very, very high. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and when you're, outspoken, when you are opinionated like CM Punk, and you do pick the wrong places to, have your little, meltdowns like the All Out media scrum last year when, he called out the Young Bucks and Kenny, and whoever in the locker room had problems with him, they could settle it in his locker room. Yeah. And like I said before, CM Punk was at fault in that situation because he, ruffled some feathers. He was the one that made the unnecessary comments. And I do understand that from that side of things, but Jack Perry has nothing to do with this CM Punk thing. And
he's friends. He's friends with the Elite, man. That's all the ammunition he needs. He's friends with the Elite. He's friends with those guys. and CM Punk just
fucking
continued.
who?
I understand that, and trust me, like you know me, I'm a fucking
Here's the thing though. I do
I've
respect.
done nothing but
but that's the thing
defend
though.
CM Punk.
But that's the thing though. I respect that you are looking at this from the middle. I will say that because you know how strongly I right now hate Jack Perry for this whole incident.
Yeah.
So I respect that. I'm rubbing off your toxicity right now.
I highly defended CM Punk about the whole brawl out situation. Like, and I said for months, I was like, Punk's coming back, bro. There's no way Tony Khan was gonna let him fucking walk. And what the fuck happened? Exactly what I said was gonna happen. But like, even though CM Punk is a superstar and like I'm a big fan of him or whatever, you know, you cannot be intimidated. Like if he's gonna, you know, feel like he's able to say whatever he wants, well then you know what? That's gonna inspire other people to be very opinionated about certain things as well. You know what I mean? So if CM Punk has,
it's
you
just
know,
the fact that he did it at All In. That's the part that upsets me because it takes away from this huge, you know, monumental moment in AEW history. That's all Twitter was talking about was this incident instead of enjoying the fucking show. That's the part that pisses me off because at the end of the day, I am a wrestling mark. I am a pro wrestling fan. I'm a We Are Wrestling maniac, just like all the listeners, just like all the watchers. We love this shit. And AEW, this was a huge, monumental moment for this company. The biggest show, 81,000 fucking people. And Jack Perry had to make a stupid comment to ruffle CM Punk's feathers. I understand CM Punk, he's made a whole career out of ruffling people's feathers. And do I think that he should be doing that? Absolutely not. But for me, when it comes to my opinion about this whole incident with both, you know, Perry, Punk, whoever is talking shit about somebody, if you're not in a storyline with that person and you're making unnecessary comments, you're at fault.
Yeah. Same thing should go for same should apply for CM Punk. You know,
exactly.
he has nothing to do with the Elite. He has nothing to do with Hangman Page. They're not in any kind of storyline
exactly.
together.
Just like when they got off, just like when we got off Collision, when he made the whole peg warmer joke. That was unnecessary. Why are you trying to ruffle feathers? Especially out of all the people, Hangman Adam Page has been the quietest fucking person. And maybe CM Punk should take some notes from Adam Page because this whole time he has been handling himself like a professional.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
so I do totally understand it from, you know, that
I feel like they should both be at fault in certain ways.
But I do want to dive into Jack Perry's side of things.
I feel like the brunt of it should go to Jack Perry or whatever. Because if he didn't say what he said, it wouldn't have set CM Punk off and it wouldn't have caused what it caused.
He knew what he was doing, and especially with the track record of, you know, not listening to veterans in the business and wanting to do things his own way, having that, you know, piss poor attitude, that, you know, gets you very far in this business.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. But now let's dive into Jack Perry's side of things because this did come out earlier today. So the version of the All In incident Jack Perry told people is that after his match, CM Punk came up to him with a lot of people around and said, "Do we have a problem?" Perry said, "No." Perry then said to Punk that he said stuff that got online about him, and that line using the term "cry me a river." Yep. Punk then said words to the effect of, "You know I could fuck you up at any time, right?" He then pie-faced Perry and tried to put a guillotine on him and also threw some punches while Perry grabbed Punk's arm to try to keep him from locking in the move. Samoa Joe came in and quickly broke it up. So this is Jack Perry's, you know, side of things, you know, coming out. So how do you feel about that side of the story?
I definitely heard both sides of the story. I do knowing CM Punk, like obviously I don't know CM Punk. I'm not friends with CM Punk. You know, I I've seen him wrestle or seen him on Monday Night Raw once at a Raw show I went to back in like 2012 when he was being managed by Paul Heyman. But I've never met the guy. But him going up to somebody being like, I could fuck you up, right? Seems like a very CM Punk thing to say.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like also the travel miscommunications and then all the drama that keeps happening. He already had built up aggression.
He could have been worked up the entire trip.
He got to that boiling point.
And
Jack Perry picked the wrong time to make that comment.
Jack Perry was, he lit the match, man, and threw it right on the gasoline. Lit that bitch up.
Yes, he did. But here's what I'm going to say about this, because obviously I've been blasting Jungle Bitch for a while now, ever since all these reports have come out. But I feel like this side of the story definitely seems to add up more than CM Punk's side. Yeah. And here's why. Because it does make sense that CM Punk would come up to him and pretty much say, do we have a problem? And pretty much, talk about, I could fuck you up, because Jack Perry went into business for himself. So, of course, that's when, the match got caught on fire.
Didn't Punk say that in a work style, like back in WWE? He periodically, and he didn't do it a lot, but he would go into there'd be segments backstage where he'd go in somebody's locker room and be like, do we have a problem here? I just feel like that's a very CM Punk thing to do.
That's a Chicago thing, Danny.
No. Well, who's from Chicago?
CM Punk.
And Dennis Rodman.
But that's the thing, man. It definitely adds up more with Perry's story, because CM Punk, is just fed up at this point, I feel like. And I still think Jack Perry is at fault for the unnecessary comments. But at the end of the day, CM Punk is also at fault, because he should be professional at the end of the day. Maybe he should have not approached Jack Perry at All In, because he knew the news was going to come out. But you're not thinking about that in the heat of the moment. And I feel like, CM Punk, it just got to that point. I think if he did not have, the whole issues with the whole, getting to his hotel in London and, not the lack of AEW fights, he probably would have just brushed it off. But he had so much aggression going on, and Tony Khan apparently was in the room while this was happening.
Exactly.
And apparently he was yelling, "Get off of him!" And CM Punk was knocking monitors and stuff over. So, of course, CM Punk right now I think he was more pissed off at Tony Khan than Jack Perry, but he took it out on Jack Perry because he made the comments.
And apparently CM Punk, I don't know if it was before the match or after, but apparently he got a little mouthy with Tony Khan and started yelling at him and saying that he hates his place. And
perfect. Now we're going to dive into that. That's the last thing that we have here in this main event topic here.
I can't believe all this shit happened in the span of fucking 2 days. Bro, this is
only an AEW, man.
I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either. But during all of this, CM Punk was threatening to quit AEW over his frustrations with everything that happened. Several people in AEW, wrestlers and people in other roles, are frustrated that CM Punk got into another backstage incident, once again distracting a high point in AEW's history. There hasn't been much communication with him and Tony after this incident with Jack Perry, but CM Punk confronted Tony Khan in his locker room, which has been characterized as a heated, intense matter, telling Khan he quit and chewed him out with harsh phrasing. Yeah. What's your thoughts on this, and what do you think CM Punk's future is going to be in wrestling? Because him saying he quits, he's walked away before.
He has walked away before. I don't think he's gonna walk away. I really, really don't. I honestly think that he enjoys being at AEW. He just doesn't like some of the people that he works with, and like being in a job environment like that. You're always gonna have people that you butt heads with, and you're not happy to be around all the time. But you're there to do a job. You're getting paid to do a job. And that's all there is to it. Do I blame CM Punk for yelling at Tony Khan? Not really, because Tony Khan, I feel like he allows his fandom to cloud his judgment in a lot of things. He doesn't
needs to put his foot down. He needs to be a fucking boss.
He needs to get the entire. He needs, before a fucking Dynamite or a Collision, whatever it is, he needs to get himself in the middle of the ring, have all the talent around the ring, and he needs to chew them the fuck out. Be like, I gave you motherfuckers an opportunity, and you guys are doing nothing but disrespecting this company, disrespecting this brand. I'm not gonna put up with it anymore. You guys are doing nothing but pushing me around. You guys are taking it upon yourself to get in all these heated arguments. I fucking had it up, and you know what? If you guys don't want to abide by my rules, then you know what? You're fucking gone. That's what TK needs to fucking do.
It's way too late to do that now, because they already friggin' take him as a joke as it is.
Yeah, but he needs to put his foot down. It's honestly not too late. If you get them all in the room and be like, I'm not going to fucking deal with this shit anymore. You're either going to fucking act right or you're fucking gone. Treat them like fucking kids.
But here's the thing, though. Have you ever seen that clip on SpongeBob of Plankton trying to tell everybody what to do? And then you have everybody in the Bikini Bottom running Plankton over, going to the Krusty Krab. That is exactly what would happen in that situation. Tony Khan has no control over his talent. He has no control over AEW because he is trying to be friends with everybody. He's trying to make everybody happy. But in this business, you can't do that. You need to just put your foot down.
I will say this, man, and it's going to pain me to say this because everybody knows how I feel about the man. This shit would not fly if Vince McMahon was running this fucking company.
Thank you. That is probably the best thing you have ever said on the We Are Wrestling podcast, because that's absolutely true. Vince McMahon would not take any of this shit.
Bro, he would fire all of them and then fucking replace them the next day.
Triple H would chew their asses out too. That's the thing.
You don't ever
Tony
hear.
Khan does not have control over his talent, and it fucking sucks because I love AEW. I love watching the show. I love the talent, and I respect Tony Khan, as a fan. And he has, had a lot of bad booking decisions, but he's also had some good booking decisions as well.
It just feels like.
But it's just one thing after another.
Exactly, like Sunday at All Out. Like, instead of going in and possibly enjoying the show, I don't know how much we can enjoy because the build and some of the matches make no fucking sense. But I just have a feeling like we're gonna get to Sunday, and it's gonna be like 6:55, 5 minutes before fucking kickoff or whatever it is. I just have a feeling that a report's gonna come out that there was another physical altercation, and that takes away from my enjoyment from the show and the product.
That's the thing, man. And it's just so frustrating because we need to have AEW around. We need the second alternatum because at the end of the day...
Alternative!
We need to have another alternative promotion out there because at the end of the day, it's helping pro wrestling. We're all winning, and more jobs, for these professional wrestlers. More, shows to enjoy. If you don't like WWE, you can go watch AEW, or you can be like us and enjoy both of them. Even if you don't like WWE or AEW, you can go watch Impact Wrestling or even Ring of Honor, which I feel like is very hard to do. But at the end of the day, there's so many great options. And at the end of the day, we need AEW to, be the second big company.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm rooting for them so hard. And I feel like all of us pro wrestling fans, instead of trying to make a WWE versus AEW war, we need to just enjoy it, man. Because right now, man, wrestling is winning as a whole. Having, two companies that, can pretty much sell out an 80,000, stadium.
Yeah.
So now, I want to get into my thoughts about this whole quitting thing. And I know we talked about this in the Facebook, group chat for a little bit. And I still stand by my opinion on that. And I'm going to let the We Are Wrestling Maniacs know. I think CM Punk will come back this time around. And I think that another big incident is going to happen. And I think that's when CM Punk is going to make the decision to quit AEW and ride out that contract, sit out until it expires. And I do see CM Punk going back to WWE. And he's going to end his career over there.
The thing about that is, and you might feel the same way, I'm not sure. But I feel like CM Punk does like to have control over certain situations. And I feel like he would not have any kind of control if he went back to WWE.
But here's the thing. Here's a perfect example. When Cody Rhodes left WWE for the first time, and he went on this, incredible independent wrestling run, and, he started to have control over the American Nightmare and reinvented himself.
Yep.
He, really enjoyed what he was doing, especially, in AEW, but eventually doing all of, the creative stuff and, doing all of not only being an in-ring competitor, but also, being a producer backstage, it really started to take a toll on Cody Rhodes. And then he kind of, reevaluated things after his contract with AEW was up and he went back to WWE. And CM Punk right now is taking on a lot of responsibilities. He's pretty much the face of, AEW Collision. He's also, a full-time competitor. He's also, writing the shows. And it's only a matter of time before that, Pike bomb does, explode. Because when CM Punk, puts too much on his plate, when he gets fed up, when he gets sick of things, it's only a matter of time before he decides that he needs to move on.
Yeah.
And I feel like AEW, with all the drama, it's not going to be worth it because at the end of the day, if CM Punk's not happy, he's not going to do it. We've seen him walk away from WWE because he wasn't happy. And I feel like this is what's going to happen in AEW if this shit keeps happening. I see him coming back one final time, and if something happens, it could be a little thing. He's leaving that company. He is going to sit on his couch in Chicago, let that contract ride out, and he's going to go back to WWE, and here's why. Earlier this year, before he came back to AEW, he was going to all of these different shows. We got to see him, go to Impact Wrestling. He visited them backstage. Also went to a Monday Night Raw in Chicago, talked to The Miz, and even talked to Triple H, which is something none of us thought would ever happen in a million years. And if there's one person in this entire world, especially a pro wrestling, that will bury the hatchet and will put his personal issues to the side with somebody for his baby, it's Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Because we've seen a lot of people who have burnt that bridge with Vince through the years. And somehow, some way, they always come back and redeem themselves.
Yeah.
And we have, so many talent through the years that have that track record. And I feel like WWE would pay CM Punk. I feel like WWE would put CM Punk in the main event of WrestleMania, which is what he wants. And I think that that's the perfect, swan song to his career.
I mean,
I hate to say it, Danny. I love him in AEW, but he's going to get sick of dealing with these children. And I think he's already getting there.
I wouldn't mind
WWE, man, they're professionals.
I wouldn't mind seeing him in WWE again. Even for nostalgia purposes. I just, with everything that has happened over the last couple of years and like his departure from the company and like all the things he said in past interviews, and he talked about how it's gonna be the happiest day of his life when Vince dies, and he got fired on his wedding day. It's all this stuff. I just have a hard time rationalizing that CM Punk might end up going back to WWE.
Hey, but that's the thing, man. This life is, a roller coaster. And honestly, CM Punk, I could definitely see him, going back at some point because never say never. That's the term that a lot of people like to use in pro wrestling.
Yep.
And I feel like, with CM Punk, there's just so much chaos in AEW that maybe him going back to WWE won't be a bad thing this time around for him coming back because he saw what it's like on the other side. And I feel like, with AEW, he's, taken on way too many responsibilities. And at the end of the day, I feel like CM Punk will go back to WWE because it will fix that reputation that he has. Because right now he is, looked at negatively. Cody Rhodes is also looked at negatively, towards the end of his AEW run. And now in WWE, he's one of, the top babyface, in all of wrestling right now. CM Punk, if he goes back to WWE and, rewrites and finishes his story in wrestling, going back to the company that nobody thought he would ever go back to, that's just gonna, be the perfect, fairy tale ending.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about it, man, there's been a lot of wrestlers that have stuck up for CM Punk, like Dax Hardwood, and they've said that, CM Punk gets all of this negative attention, but they really don't know who Phil is. They don't know who CM Punk is. And I feel like, the wrestling media, they misunderstand him. And they don't really know who he is. And I feel like with all the negative, things going on, if he goes back to WWE and, rewrites, his chapter over there, all that negative stuff is going to go right down the drain. And I think a lot of, wrestling fans are going to start thinking, maybe it wasn't CM Punk's fault. Maybe there's something bigger going on in AEW that people aren't talking about. And that's where I feel like I want to end this.
I definitely think we should. I mean, I can't add anything else of value that hasn't already been said. I can't see it, but if it does happen, I mean, it'll make the shows a lot more interesting than they have been. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely. So, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there, let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on all the topics that we covered this week. And later on tonight, we will be live on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel for WWE Payback Watch Along. So if you're looking for somebody to watch, pay-per-view with, Danny and I will both be live on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel for that. Tomorrow, AEW All Out will also be live on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel for that as well. But if you're listening to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, not just a 5-star review, but a best one review, and download the episode. But if you're watching this and you enjoyed it, make sure to smash that like button now. If you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. The link's down in the description below. You can go follow Danny and I over on our social medias and personal YouTube channels. All the links down below. In addition, you want shorter clips of the podcast and additional wrestling news, go follow us over on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. All the links down below. And before you guys, tune in to the watch-alongs for, Payback and All Out, if you want to check out Danny and I's predictions for both of these pay-per-views, recommend you guys to go check those out. We have great discussions on who we think is going to win and some potential surprises. But of course, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide, we are taking over. Peace.